For our game drive in Etosha, we head by truck to the meeting point where the jeeps we booked are waiting for us. The transfer itself, however, turns into a sort of unexpected pre-game drive, as we have the opportunity to spot several animals along the way. Every glance out the window turns out to be an opportunity to immerse ourselves in the extraordinary fauna of the park. However, in hindsight, there is one encounter that we would have liked to experience longer: a lion with a thick and majestic mane that was slowly approaching us. We decide to continue, without imagining that that would be the only lion we would spot during our stay in Etosha. Thinking back, we would have liked to stop just a few minutes longer, to admire that magnificent specimen up close, the symbol par excellence of the power and beauty of African nature. But as often happens on a safari, every encounter is fleeting and precious, and it is precisely this unpredictability that makes the experience even more fascinating. Here we pass the entrance to Ocaquejo Camp, famous for the waterhole that is located right next to the camp. This waterhole, like many others in the park, is of crucial importance to the wildlife of Etosha. It is essential to understand the role of the waterholes in this unique ecosystem. The name Etosha means Great White Place, a clear reference to the salt flat that forms the central desert part of the park. This vast white pan is surrounded by savannas, whose appearance changes with the seasons, but which, due to recent climate changes, remains largely arid and dry for much of the year. It is in this context that the 86 waterholes that surround it, both natural and artificial, become vital to the survival of the animals, acting as a magnet for every creature in search of refreshment. The waterholes are the beating heart of the park, and the success of any game drive depends in large part on visiting them. Here, animals gather to drink, and these water oases become natural stages where extraordinary encounters occur, allowing visitors to observe the dynamics between predators and prey, herbivores and carnivores, in an environment that is as brutal as it is fascinating. On board the open Jeep, during the game drive, the visual experience becomes truly extraordinary. The absence of barriers allows you to admire the landscape at 360 degrees, capturing every detail of the nature that unfolds around you. The wind that caresses your face and the sounds of nature create a sense of total immersion.
And female don't have horns.
Ok. Allora, ha detto che ci sono diversi tipi di impala. Questo impala che state vedendo si chiama blackface impala.
These black-faced in Africa, they have been only counted in Namibia and Angola. So the rest part of Africa, they are with common impala.
Ah, ok. This one is only in Namibia and Angola.
Yeah. So,
It's land squirrel.
it's a ground squirrel. Yeah.
Ground squirrel.
These ground squirrels are very cute and dig tunnels to protect themselves from external temperatures on the surface and from predators.
Seed, insects.
Insects.
Yeah, very.
No, sono arrivato
Ha detto si vedono la mattina presto, la sera, perché di giorno stanno nascosti per il bush quando fa caldo. Questa è una delle più basse, dice ce ne sono alcune sotte 4 metri e mezzo.
Questa è quanto alta?
This one is about how many?
These are
Sarà 2 metri e mezzo.
so they are both male, but the behind one is bigger than the front.
Sono due maschi
The front one should be the youngster.
e quella che sta più vicina di fronte dovrebbe essere.
Lontano.
How we can understand if it's male or female?
So just
By
like
the head,
to have a look on the
head,
horns.
horns.
So it's like the male horns are quite big.
The horn, bigger.
Without case.
After spotting ostriches and the elegant red hartebeest, we came across an even more exciting encounter, a rhino with her calf. The majesty of these animals is undeniable, and seeing them so close, in all their grandeur, is an experience that leaves its mark. The large adult rhino stopped to mark its territory, a gesture that underlines how important it is for them to establish their dominion in an environment where territory is everything. The encounter with a rhino in the wild is always special, and seeing this mother-child pair made us reflect on the importance of conserving these magnificent creatures, symbols of a wild nature that we must protect at all costs. As we cross the road in front of us, the oryx appear with their elegance and grandeur to remind us how surprising and varied nature is. The first one that crosses our path is truly unusual. One of its horns is perfectly straight, while the other is curved in a marked way. This contrast between symmetry and asymmetry, although unusual, does not seem to diminish the pride with which the animal advances at all. Indeed, that curved horn makes it unique, as if nature wanted to add a touch of eccentricity to its beauty. The oryx, with their long and sharp horns, similar to swords, are perfect inhabitants of these wild lands, adapted to survive in the most extreme conditions. As we watch them calmly cross the road, we realize how special each encounter is in this corner of the world. Even in the smallest details, such as a slightly curved horn, nature always surprises us, making every moment spent in these lands a continuous discovery. The Etosha Pan is one of Namibia's most fascinating geological wonders, a salt pan so vast it can even be seen from space. Formed around 12 million years ago, the pan was originally fed by the Kunena River, which flowed through the shallow pan. However, subsequent climate and geological changes caused the river to change course, leaving the enormous pan to gradually dry up. Today, the Etosha Pan covers an impressive 5,000 square kilometers, forming the heart of the Etosha National Park, a landscape as desolate as it is breathtaking.
Lungo.
230 lungo.
Sono delle piste.
So, but during the rain,
Ma io chiaro.
once you receive such a heavy rain, it is filled up by the rainwater.
Dice che arriva l'acqua da due fiumi che stanno tra la Namibia e l'Angola.
So, if we could have water here, beautiful birds from the ocean, like the flamingo.
Beautiful
birds.
birds.
Yeah, like
Ah, birds,
flamingo,
okay.
Pelican,
Yeah.
clay,
Yeah,
strokes as well,
yeah.
so that they should come and do the feeding from those.
Ah, ok.
Yeah.
Quando è il periodo delle piogge arrivano anche tantissimi bei uccelli che si vengono a nutrire dei pesci che arrivano dal fiume
Ma
dell'Angola.
si riempie tutto d'acqua qui?
Mi pare strano perché non so da pieno in tastato, però ci saranno delle depressioni.
As the elephant in front of us slowly dusts himself and rubs himself against a sturdy tree, I want to take this opportunity to tell you a little more about this unique part of the park, the pan. The hypersaline conditions of the soil limit the species that can live permanently in this area. But during the short rainy season, the pan is radically transformed. The rainwater and the contribution of the Oshana and Omaramba rivers that flood it, it is sometimes flooded and a shallow lagoon is created. It is precisely in those few days that the pan comes alive, attracting flocks of flamingos and pelicans, which take advantage of these ephemeral waters to feed and nest. This seasonal phenomenon is a visible testament to the changing nature of Etosha. During the drier months, the pan appears as a blinding white desert, seemingly stretching away into infinity under the African sun, while with the rains it becomes a temporary oasis, creating a fleeting ecosystem that brings life to this otherwise inhospitable place. It is a place of extreme contrasts, where the absolute stillness of the desert is briefly interrupted by the dynamism of the wildlife that gathers there, making each visit a unique and unforgettable experience. Meanwhile, our elephant carefully continues his ritual, rubbing every part of his body against the tree, from his mighty trunk to his tail. Watching him is like witnessing a moment of intimate connection with the surrounding environment. This gesture is not only a way to relieve itching or remove parasites, but also a behavior that reflects the intelligence and awareness of these extraordinary animals. Elephants use nature as an ally to take care of themselves, and every movement is slow, measured, as if it were a silent dance with the landscape. The tree, probably centuries old, seems to patiently accept the embrace of this gentle giant. And in that moment, the boundary between the elephant and the world around him seems to vanish. It is an image that reminds us of the profound symbiosis that exists between animals and their habitat, a balance that nature has been able to build and that we, spectators, can only admire and protect. Who knows what kind of ritual took place between these two magnificent elephants, one completely white with dust, as if it were a mythical creature emerging from the earth, and the other scratching itself with a tangle of trunks. The scene, full of mystery and majesty, evokes a silent language that only they can understand, a tangle of ancient and symbolic gestures. Elephants use their trunks not only to perform practical gestures, but also to communicate affection, solidarity, and even hierarchy. That contact between the trunks could have been a sign of friendship, a greeting, or a way to strengthen the bonds between them. The dust that envelopes the great white elephant not only protects it from insects and the relentless heat, but also seems to give it an almost sacred aura, as if it were participating in a natural purification rite. In these moments, nature reveals its profound complexity, made of silent communications and invisible rituals that weave the fabric of wildlife. Observing these giants in their interactions reminds us how rich in meaning each gesture is, and how much we still have to learn from their way of living in harmony with the environment.
Questo è piccolo, un cucciolotto. Si sta grattando. È quello che si è fatto il bagno.
Is there anyone else who needs to rub themselves in? A tribute to the acacia, the undisputed symbol of African flora. It is more than just a tree. It represents the very essence of the continent, with its majestic silhouette that stands out on the horizon of the savanna. In many African cultures, the acacia has a deep symbolic meaning. It represents resistance, strength, and longevity, all qualities necessary to survive in an environment that can be both merciless and beautiful at the same time.
Bella questa scena. Sì.
Before the sun sinks to the horizon, coloring the sky with the fiery hues typical of an African sunset, a last tour of the waterholes, the true hubs of life in this arid land. Each day in the park ends with this daily ritual, where the light fades and life is concentrated around a few precious water points.